Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihare Radha Madhava Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadhari Jayo Giri Varadhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Jayo Giri Varadhari Janna Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Shodanandana Braja Janaranjanam Shodanandana Braja Janaranjana Shodanandana Munatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Munatira Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Jayo Giri Varadhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Jayo Giri Varadhari Shodanandana Braja Janaranjana Shodanandana Braja Janaranjana Munatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. This morning we are reading from Srimad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, and Sloka 38, and the last sloka in this chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sampradiśyaivam ajano janānāṁ parameṣṭhinam paśyatas tasya rūpam ātmano nyaruṇad dhariḥ śrī-śuka uvāca sampradiśyaivam ajano janānāṁ parameṣṭhinam paśyatas tasya rūpam ātmano nyaruṇad dhariḥ. Please chant. Janānāṁ paśyatas tasya rūpam dhariḥ śrī-śuka uvāca janānāṁ tasya rūpam Vaishnavis Śrī-śuka uvāca ajano Word by word, Śrī Śukadeva Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, Sampradiśya fully instructing Brahmājī, evam, thus, ajanaḥ, the Supreme Lord, janānāṁ, of the living entities, parameṣṭhinam, unto the Supreme Leader Brahmā, paśyatas, while he was seeing, tasya, his, tat rūpam, that transcendental form, ātmano, of the Absolute, nyaruṇad, disappeared. Hari, the Lord, the Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said to Mahārāja Parīkṣit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, after being seen in his transcendental form, instructing Brahmājī, the leader of the living entities, disappeared. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Lord is ajano, or the Supreme Person, and that he was showing his transcendental form, ātmano rūpam, to Brahmājī, while instructing him in the summarization of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in 4 verses. He is ajano, or the Supreme Person, amongst janānāṁ, or all persons. All living entities are individual persons, and amongst all such persons, Lord Hari is supreme, as confirmed in the śruti-mantra, nityo nityanam chetanas chetanānam, Katha Upanishad. So there is no place for impersonal features in a transcendental world, as there are impersonal features in the material world. Whenever there is a cetana or knowledge, the personal feature comes in the spiritual world. Everything is full of knowledge, and therefore everything in the transcendental world, the land, the water, the tree, the mountain, the river, the man, the animal, the bird, everything is of the same quality, namely cetana, and therefore everything there is individual and personal. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives us this information as the supreme Vedic literature, and it was personally instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Brahmājī, so that the leader of the living entities might broadcast the message to all in the universe in order to teach the supreme knowledge of bhakti-yoga. Brahmājī, in his turn, instructed Narada, his beloved son, the same message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Narada in turn taught the same to Vyasadeva, who again taught it to Śukadeva Gosvāmī. To Śukadeva Gosvāmī's grace and by the mercy of Mahārāja Parīkṣit, we are all given Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam perpetually to learn the science of Absolute Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Ghodavani Vracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paśyatadeshatarine. He Krishna Karana Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangir Hade Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurat Vishre Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we heard how Lord Brahma is instructed by the Lord to help him understand him. So he was taught Chatushloki, which is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the nutshell, nucleus of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And this is what Bhagavatam is meant for. It is meant to help us understand the Lord. And then, by doing so, engage in a devotional service, which is natural activity of law of all living entities. It is mentioned here, ajano, parameṣṭhinam, that the Lord, He is the supreme leader of the living entities. So from the very beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we hear who the Lord is. Śukadeva Gosvāmī is telling us. So very first sloka, Janmandyasya yatton bhayad ittaratar chatish abhigyaha svarat. We hear that the Lord, He is the primeval cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. We hear that He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and that He is completely independent. He is Swarat. And then we hear also, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Mukhyanti Yad Suryaha. We hear that He instructed this knowledge in the heart of Brahmājī, as it's mentioned in this chapter. Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. And that Mukhyanti Yad Suryaha, that even the demigods, suras, that they are, put in illusion by Him. They cannot understand Him. Even the great sages and demigods. Tejuvari mridam yatavinima yatratri sargum risha. So they are bewildered by Him as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. And only because of Him, all the material universes, which are temporarily manifested by the reactions to the three modes of three gunas material nature, only because of Him, these universes appear real, although in essence they're unreal. And dhamna svena sadhana rastahuham satyam param dhimahi. Dhimahi, I meditate upon Him who is eternally present in His eternal transcendental abode, which is forever free from all illusory representations of this material world. I meditate upon Him because He is the absolute truth. Satyam param dhimahi. So this is all to help us understand the Lord. So what is the result of understanding the Lord? The result is this one goes to Dhamma Svena, His transcendental abode that is eternally free from all deficiencies of this world. And we hear in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvadaha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that just by understanding Him, will not take birth in the material world again. So the point is being made here that we cannot understand Krishna on our own. By our own capacity, with our own intelligence, it's just impossible to understand Him. So everybody who is materially born, including demigods, they cannot understand the Lord, including Lord Brahma, who is born from the lotus, but this is also material birth. Still he, on his own, cannot understand the Lord. He needs the help from the Lord. He needs to be instructed by the Lord. Everybody who is born in this world, he has four material deficiencies. He has Brahma, the tendency to commit mistakes; Pramada, the tendency to be illusion; Vipralipsa, the tendency to cheat others; and Karana Patava, imperfect senses. And thus, with these four deficiencies, it's impossible to understand Him. So that's why we must take instructions from Krishna directly or his bona fide representatives in the sampradaya, bona fide disciplic succession coming down from him. But even then, if we are taking instructions instead of the disciplic succession, instead of the sampradaya, our understanding might not be complete and full and perfect. Even amongst the Vaishnavas of different sampradayas, there are differences in understanding Krishna. Some of them, they understand Narayana, understand Vishnu, but it's difficult for them to understand Krishna, accept him as the supreme original person. And even those who understand Dwaraka Krishna, Mathura Krishna, for them might be difficult to understand original Vrindavan Krishna, Vraj Krishna. So sampradiśya, we have the first word of this shloka, meaning he fully instructed Brahmājī. So it has the same word root as sampradaya. And we know that we are coming in the sampradaya from Lord Brahmā, and then comes Narada, Vyasa, Madhva. So Madhvacharya is one of the acharyas in our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So let's look a little bit, for example, some of the Madhvacharya's understandings. For example, he says, the seeing differences in the incarnation of Vishnu is one of 9 dveshas. So how can Krishna be superior to Vishnu when they are the same? So Madhvacharya, he doesn't accept that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, that he is any different from Vishnu. So do we agree with this? Of course, we don't agree. We know that Krishna is the original person, and the Narayana and Vishnu's, all forms of Vishnus, they come from Krishna. But no, Madhvacharya doesn't want to make any distinctions, and he says it's a mistake. It's illusion. But in the very Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we have the key shloka. Sometimes they ask what is the most important shloka in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and this shloka is given. Ete chamsa kalapamsa krishnastu bhagavan swayam indrari vyakulam lokam mridayanti yuge yuge. So all the incarnations that are mentioned in the Bhagavatam previous to this shloka, they are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Shri Krishna, he is the original personality of Godhead. He appears whenever there is a disturbance created by atheists, and the Lord incarnates to protect the theists. So the word swayam in this shloka is very, very important, because it's confirming that Lord Krishna has no other source than himself. In other places we hear that other incarnations of the Lord, they are described also as Bhagavan, as the Lord, as the Supreme Lord, because they have specific functions. But nowhere they are declared to be original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swayam refers to Krishna only, to his supremacy as the summum bonum. It's a Latin word this Prabhupada is using, the summum bonum. Krishna is one without a second. So I'll just quote what Prabhupada comments on this Etichamsa Kalapamsa shloka. He says, he himself expands in various parts and portions and particles as Swam Rupa, Swam Prakash, Tadikatma, Prabha, Vaibhav, Vilas, Avatar, Avesha, and Jivas. All provided with innumerable energies just suitable to the respective persons and personalities. Learned scholars in transcendental subjects have carefully analyzed the summum bonum Krishna to have 64 principal attributes. All the expansions or categories of the Lord possess only some percentage of these attributes, but Sri Krishna is the possessor of the attributes 100%. So Krishna is 100% God, Supreme Personality of Godhead. All other, his expansions and incarnations, they have a smaller degree of his qualities. Although they're the same person, they manifest the smaller percentage of his qualities. That's why we differentiate that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So our understanding of the Lord will differ depending on the sampradaya we are in, and also it will differ depending on which shastra we take as the supreme proof, as the supreme pramana. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it's very clear that Krishna is the supreme. Other Puranas, for example, like Vishnu Purana, they are not stressing very much that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, but Bhagavatam is very clear. Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. And this statement is the foundation of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is part of larger Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, but it's distinct. There are differences with the Gaudiya understanding and differences of followers, for example, of Madhvacharya, like Tattvavadis. There are 3 chapters in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that are actually considered sort of a commentary or explanation of this key shloka, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Do you know which chapters are those? And they're actually controversial in the Gaudiya, in the Vaishnava world. Chapters of the 10th canto, 12, 13, and 14, which describe, killing of Aghasura and Brahma Vimohan Lila. They are not accepted by some of the Vaishnava Sampradayas, particularly by Madhvas, by followers of Madhvacharya, and they are also not accepted by followers of Vallabhacharya, Vallabha Sampradaya, which is a Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. They say that these 3 chapters, the interpolation, they were not originally there. Somebody just wrote them down and inserted them in the Bhagavatam. So there are some different understandings here. But we accept these 3 chapters because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted them. Madhvacharya had a problem accepting that Lord Brahma, who is the guru of the Sampradaya, that he was illusioned. He just couldn't reconcile that, the guru can be illusioned. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had no problem with that. But still, nowadays, the followers of these Sampradayas, they do not accept these 3 chapters. And they still claim it's interpolation. So that's why they are kind of controversial. So what is this Brahma Vimohan Lila describing? If you remember, in the 12th chapter, Aghasura was killed. Cowherd boys, they entered all into the mouth of Aghasura, and Krishna entered behind of them and killed Aghasura and revived them and brought them back. So after that, they were all very hungry, and they had a picnic in the forest. So they pick up their lunch packets that they left hanging on the branches. They didn't take it to the Aghasura's mouth, otherwise it would be destroyed. So they were hanging, waiting for them. So they start unpacking their packets, and they were using different leaves, stones, different sort of plates, where they would put all preparations that their mothers prepare for them. And then it's not that everybody just ate their own lunch. No, they shared with each other. They were giving to their neighbors and to Krishna especially. They were sharing, oh Krishna, please try this, please try that. And Krishna was sitting in the middle, as in the middle of the lotus flower. And it's described that all cowherd boys, they thought that Krishna is facing just them. And there were hundreds, if not thousands of cowherd boys. So it was not possible, but for Krishna, it was not impossible. So that he was facing all of them and had exchange with all of them. So they were joking, and commenting on the taste of the prasadam and so many other things. And during this time, they noticed that the calves, somehow they disappeared. Although they were grazing nearby, they couldn't be seen anymore. So the cowherd boys, they got disturbed. The gopas, they got disturbed. So they wanted to go and look for them. But Krishna told them, no, don't bother. I'll find the cows very fast. You just stay here and take your lunch in peace. And he got up, and he still had, the lump of rice with the yogurt in his left hand. Sometimes, people ask, why in the left hand? No, he was keeping the left hand because other boys, they were giving him rice, and so he was keeping in the left hand, and then he was eating it from the left with the right. So, while still holding that lump of rice with the yogurt, he wandered off in search for the cows, but he couldn't find them anywhere. Meanwhile, Lord Brahma, who was already bewildered by killing of Aghasura and his attaining of liberation, moksha, which was, very bewildering, Krishna is just some cowherd boy, and now all of a sudden he killed this huge demon, and this demon attained moksha. How is this possible? Who is this boy? So Brahma was not sure whether it was his master Narayan or not. So he wanted to test him. So what did he do? He just took away all the cowherd boys while Krishna was away, and put them to sleep in the cave. Actually, Srila Vishnu Thakur, he describes that Brahma, he cannot actually touch the eternal associates of the Lord, that actually he couldn't take the original cowherd boys. The boys he took, they were creation of illusory potency, Krishna's illusory potency. They were not the real boys. In the same way as the mother Sita that was taken by Ravana was not the real mother Sita, but Maya Sita. So in the same way, these were Maya Gopas that were taken by Lord Brahma. Anyway, he took them away and put them to sleep in order to test Krishna. Meanwhile, Krishna was searching for cowherd boys, for cows everywhere. He couldn't find them, so he returned, and then he saw that even his cowherd boy friends, they were not there. So for the moment he got bewildered, but immediately his omniscience, his energy of omniscience kicked in, and he understood that this was the work of Lord Brahma. And what he did, he manifested himself as each and individual cowherd boy with all their particular individual features, the particular, not only external physical features, but also with the character, the tone of the voice, everything. He became all the cowherd boy. He expanded himself. And he expanded himself also as all the cows. And actually this was done in order to satisfy all the elderly gopis in Vrindavan, who for a long time they cherished desire to have Krishna as their own child. They all had their own sons, but somehow they felt greater affection and greater love to Krishna because he is the soul of all souls. And now Krishna fulfilled their desire and manifested himself as their own child. So when they went all home, cows and the cowherd boys, when they all went home, the elderly gopis, they would, clean their bodies, they would massage them, they would dress them, decorate them. And in this way, they served Krishna personally for 1 full year. And the cows also, although these cows, they already had, younger calves that were born to them. Still, they had greater affection to the older cows because they were Krishna who expanding himself. So they were licking them and giving them their milk to drink. So in this way, Krishna performed his pastimes for 1 full year. That's why this pastime of killing Aghasura, it was not revealed only it was revealed only 1 year later, when they were all, when Krishna was already in Paganda age. That was the question that Mahārāja Parīkṣit had to Śukadeva Gosvāmī. Why this pastime of killing Aghasura was revealed only 1 year later? The answer was simple. Krishna was performing the pastimes for 1 year and nobody suspecting anything. Only 5-6 days before the end of the 1 full year, Lord Balaram noticed something very unusual. He noticed that his own affection and attraction for these cowherd boys and calves is the same as his attraction and love for Krishna. And he noticed also that affection and love of all residents of Vrindavan was also same as love they had for Krishna, which was unusual. Usually, their affection for Krishna was much greater. But no, he noticed it's completely the same. So he became suspectful and he came to Krishna and inquired from him. And then Krishna explained to him, this and this happened. Lord Brahma took all our friends away, and what could I do? I had to expand myself. And then Lord Balaram, he understood. Meanwhile, 1 year passed away, and Lord Brahma, being afraid that he committed some mistake, he came back. And what did he notice? He noticed, that the Krishna's pastime was still going on in the same way as before. And he noticed that all the cowherd boys he stole, they were there. And then he looked back in the cave, but no, they were sleeping there. But at the same time, they were playing with Krishna. So he was completely bewildered. He couldn't understand which cowherd boys he took and which were the real ones, which were not the real ones. In this way, he was put in complete illusion. That's why it's called Brahma Mohan Lila. And then by Krishna's grace, the veil of Maya opened and he saw all the cowherd boys and all the cows in the four-handed forms of Vishnu, and he understood that actually they were all Krishna who expanding himself. And then in great humility, he came, in front of Krishna in the remote place and offered obeisances. They offered very nice prayers, Brahma Stuti, that we hear of in the 14th chapter. So let me go back to Madhvacharya. He didn't comment to these three chapters. He couldn't accept that Brahma was illusion, and till today his followers and Vallabhacharya followers also, they reject these 3 chapters. What is the other problem apart from Brahma being illusion for them here is that demons that Krishna killed, that attain liberation. They just cannot accept this. Because Lord Nrsimhadev, he kills demons. He killed Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu didn't attain liberation. Lord Ramachandra, he killed Ravana. Did Ravana attain liberation? No. But all the demons, Aghasura that Krishna killed, for example, here, they straight away, after being killed, they attain liberation. So followers of Madhvacharya and Vallabhacharya, they cannot accept that. So that's why they claim that these 3 chapters are interpolation. So Lord Chaitanya, if you remember, when he was traveling South India, he met some of the Tattvavadis, followers of Madhvacharya, and he defeated them. He defeated them and established his own conclusions. So we don't agree, although we belong to the same sampradaya, we do not agree with all siddhanta of followers of Madhvacharya. For example, Madhvacharya also has theory of 3 types of souls. He divided souls in 3 types. One class is called Mukti Yogyas, the souls who qualify for liberation, and that there are Nitya Samsarinis souls who are eternally bound to eternal samsara. And then there are Tamu Yogyas, those souls who are condemned to eternal hell. Of course, we do not agree to this division of three types of souls. We know that all souls, by their constitutional nature, they have capacity to go to the spiritual world and live there eternally. And then we have followers of Vallabhacharya, who belongs to Vishnu Swami, to Rudra Sampradaya, to Lord Shiva Sampradaya. They are also not accepting that demons that are killed by Krishna, that they attain liberation. They also don't accept the Brahma Vimohan Lila in these 3 chapters of Bhagavatam. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Antya Lila, we hear description in the 7th chapter of meeting Vallabhabhata with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is no doubt that Vallabhabhata or Vallabhacharya was a very learned scholar. He traveled India 3 times and conquered all the scholars all over India. And initially Lord met him at Prayag, because Vallabhacharya, he used to have his headquarters. He lived just across the Ganga from Prayag, in the place just across of the Ganga. So when Lord was visiting Prayag, Lord met him and accepted his lunch invitation, and it was all good at that time. But later on, when Vallabhabhata, he came to Puri, he wanted to establish his own conclusions. He wanted to show to all the Vaishnavas and to the Lord himself that his Bhagavatam commentary was very, very important. But somehow Lord, he detecting his pride, he ignored him. He said, I'm not qualified to understand your commentary of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Please go to somebody else. I only know that for the holy name of Krishna. And then Vallabhabhata, oh, you want to hear my explanation of the holy name of Krishna? No, I know only that Krishna is son of Mother Yashoda and Nandana, Yashoda Nandana. This is all the meaning of name of Krishna, I know. So in this way, he was repeatedly dismissing him, and the pride of Vallabhabhata was getting crushed. I'm such a great scholar, but the Lord, he was so kind to me in Prayag, but now he doesn't want to hear my explanations. So that's why he went around searching for somebody who will hear his explanation. And he found Gadadhar Pandit, who was very meek and humble. And Gadadhar Pandit, he knew that Lord Chaitanya didn't approve hearing from Vallabhabhata. So that's why he didn't want to hear, but somehow by force, Vallabhabhata, he caught him and started explaining his Bhagavatam. So Gadadhar Pandit, he just, closed his eyes and prayed to the Lord inside to forgive him for listening, but he couldn't just tell Vallabhabhata, don't speak, because he was, very learned Brahmana and very respectable person. After that, some associate of Lord Chaitanya, they were a little angry towards Gadadhar Pandit because he was hearing, but Gadadhar knew that the Lord knew his heart and that he will not take it for bad. So like this, Vallabhabhata was trying, but somehow Lord Chaitanya wouldn't hear from him. And at one point, it's described by Krishnadas Kaviraj Chaitanya Charitamrita that Vallabhabhata, he understood that actually I'm too proud. And this is the reason why Lord is rejecting me. So he came and he offered his obeisance to the Lord. He surrendered to the Lord and took shelter of him. So it looks like from that description that he became a Gaura Bhakta. But still, in all his writings, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not mentioned, and his followers nowadays, Vallabha's followers, they deny that he ever met Lord Chaitanya, and they still, deny that these 3 chapters, they belong to Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada, instantly in Madhya Lila, he comments on Vallabhabhata. He says, Vallabhabhata was a great learned scholar of Vaishnavism. In the beginning, he was very much devoted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But since he thought that he could not receive proper respect from him, he later joined the Vishnu Swami sect and became the Acharya of that sect. His sect is celebrated as the Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. This Sampradaya has had great influence in Vrindavan, near Gokula, and in Bombay. So it looks like because he wasn't accepted with his commentaries and his scholarship by Lord Chaitanya and his associates, he searched Vaishnava circle where he would be accepted. So that's why he went to
Vishnu Swami's sampradaya, who at that time didn't have many followers, so it was easy for him to establish his superiority there and to become acharya of that sampradaya. So that's why we have Vallabha's Pushti Marga followers nowadays who follow Vallabhacharyas. But we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Srila Madhavendra Puri, he was actually one of the acharyas in the Tattvavada disciplic succession, the succession of Madhvacharya. But somehow he was inspired from within to go beyond the conclusions of Madhvacharya Sampradaya and to put prema or love of Godhead as the ultimate goal of life. So that's why the Gaudiyas who belong to Gaudiya Sampradaya, those who follow Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are distinct from the Tattvavadas, followers of Madhvacharyas. So without the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descending himself to teach us about himself personally, who would know all these intricacies, even if one was a Vaishnava in one of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he prayed, Vairagya Vidya Nija bhakti-yoga, Shikshartam Eka Purusha Purana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari, Kripa Mudiryastam Aham Prapadye. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us real knowledge, his devotional service and detachment from whatever does not foster Krishna consciousness. He has descended because he is an ocean of transcendental mercy. Let me surrender unto his lotus feet. So Nija Bhakti Yoga, he came to teach us his own devotional service. And without him playing a role of a devotee and teaching us how to perform devotional service, even while being in one of the four sampradayas, we wouldn't be really able to properly follow and to know the highest conclusions of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. But still, Lord Chaitanya, he accepted the four Vaishnava sampradaya. It's not that he rejected Madhvacharya. No, he joined his sampradaya, and in Sri Navaridham Mahatmya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted two principles from each of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas, and he incorporated these two principles in his own Gaudiya Sampradaya. So what are these principles that he accepted from other Sampradayas? From Ramanujacharya, who belonged to Sri or Lakshmi Sampradaya, he accepted the concept of Ananya Bhakti, of unalloyed devotional service that is uncontaminated by jnana and karma. And he also accepted the principle of service to the devotees, Bhakta Jana Seva or Vaishnava Seva. So these two principles Lord Chaitanya found very important, that Ramanujacharya emphasized, and he took them and made them principles of our own Gaudiya Sampradaya. And then from Madhvacharya of Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, he accepted first the complete defeat of Mayavad philosophy. Madhvacharya, he didn't compromise 1 inch with the Mayavadis, and Lord Chaitanya liked that very much. So that's why he took this Kevala Advaita Nirasana, the defeat of Mayavad philosophy. And he also, from Madhva, he accepted the worship of the deity of Krishna. Madhvacharya established Krishna deity in Udupi, and that Krishna Murti Sevana was very important and still is a very important part of Madhvacharya Sampradaya. So Lord Chaitanya, he liked it very much and he took it from Madhva. And then from Vishnu Swami, Acharya of the Rudra Sampradaya, he accepted the sentiment of total dependence of Krishna, of total surrender. Tadya Sarvasva Bhav, he accepted from him. And he also from him accepted the path of spontaneous devotional service or path of Raga Marg. That's why followers of Vallabha Acharya, they are called followers of Pushti Marg, because that Raga Marg is very much prominent there, but mostly it's focused on a small baby Krishna. That's why you see sometimes devotees carrying his Bal Gopal deity and meaning that, you know, they're taking some instructions from Vallabha Sampradaya. And then from the last Sampradaya of Nimbarkacharya of Kumara Sampradaya, he accepted the principle of the necessity of taking exclusive shelter of Srimati Radharani, Ekanta Radhika Ashraya. This is very prominent in Nimbarka Sampradaya, and Lord Chaitanya liked it and he took it. Ekanta Radhika Ashraya, exclusive shelter of Sri Radhika. And then he also accepted the exalted mood of the gopis' love for Krishna, or Gopi Bhav, because he also found it that very exemplary in the Barka Sampradaya. So in this way he took all the best and made it as the Siddhanta of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So without Lord merciful descending of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we just wouldn't be able to catch all these things from different Vaishnava Sampradayas. That's why Varshu Ghosh, the famous associate of Lord Chaitanya, he sings, famous song, Yadi ghora na hoito, tabi ke hoito. Kemana dharite de. Please excuse my Bengali. Radhara mahima prema rasasima jagate janata ke. If the Lord Gora has not appeared as the Yoga avatar in this age of Kali, then what would have become of us? How could we have tolerated living? Who in this universe would have ever learned about the topmost limits of loving mellows that compromise the glory of Sri Radha? Without Lord Chaitanya coming to explain this to us, how we would know that things? Who would have had the power to render ecstatic devotional service that follows in the footsteps of damsels of Raj? This is Gopi Bhav. Indeed, the clever expertise of the Raja Gopis is the prerequisite for entering the supremely sweet forest of Vrinda Devi. And then Vasugor says, oh please, sing again and again the glorious qualities of Lord Gauranga. Just try to keep your heart simple. Not even one person within the ocean of nescience has ever seen such a magnanimous personality as he is. Gauranga boliya na ghenu goliya, kemane darine de, devasur hiya pasanadiya, kemane gadyeche. Even though I chant the holy name of Lord Gauranga, somehow I still have not melted in ecstasy. How then I have maintained the burden of this body? How has the Creator fashioned this body with a stone in a place of Vasudeva Ghosh's heart? So he is expressing his strong feelings of gratitude to Lord Chaitanya. And similarly, we can also be very much grateful to our own Srila Prabhupada. Without him coming to the West, who would ever know anything about these things? And His Holiness Jipataka Swami Maharaj, he also composed the song which is very similar to the Varsha Ghosh songs. So he said, Yadi Prabhupada na hoite, tabe ki hoita, jivana bahite kise, nitai gurera apara karuna kedita sakhala deshe. If Srila Prabhupada had not come, what would have happened? How could we have passed our lives? Who else would have distributed the unlimited mercy of Lord Nityananda and Lord Gauranga all over the world? So, if Lord had not come, and His dear devotees like Srila Prabhupada had not come, we would have no chance of understanding anything of this great, great philosophy. But we are very fortunate that Lord Chaitanya came, that Srila Prabhupada came, and now we have just to strictly follow the teachings and practice this devotional service and take advantage of the mercy that was bestowed upon us. So I'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. You said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken two best of the principles from all the sampradayas. So, Vaishnav Seva, unalloyed devotional service, and then deity worship, destroying Mayavad, then complete dependence on the Lord, And then what was the other one? I couldn't get that.
Then from the path of spontaneous devotional service, Raga Marg, that he took from Vishnu Swami, Vallabhacharya Sampradaya, that spontaneous devotional service. Devotional service is not only Vidhi Marg, but also it's also Raga Marg.
Raganuga.
And then from Nimbarkacharya, he took two principles, Ekanta Radhikashraya, the taking complete shelter of Sri Radhika,
Gopi Bhava.
and Gopi Bhava, the mood of the gopis. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you Prabhu, excellent session. One small query from my side. Just now you explained about Brahma Vimohana Leela. So in the Krishna book we read that when Krishna's mother was pregnant, during that time all the devatas, they used to come and offer their respects. So when they know that Supreme Lord is going to take birth before appearance himself, then how could they, like Indra also got bewildered and Brahma also got bewildered?
Yeah, they know, but at the same time, they're not completely sure. Once the Krishna is born and he is behaving completely human-like way, they forget, they think, well, maybe, yeah, Lord appeared, but he went somewhere else, and this boy who is here, maybe he's just expansion, or he's just, playing some part. So somehow the Maya is so powerful that it covers them, and they're not sure, because, they're using the Lord with the four hands, the Lord Narayan, and Krishna's behavior is so ordinary, he is crying, he's rolling in the dust, he's doing so many childish things, and you don't expect Supreme Lord to behave so childishly. So then the doubt comes in their mind. Maybe we made a mistake. Maybe the Lord didn't really appear here. Maybe this is just an ordinary boy. So they're not sure. Indra also, he knew, but at the same time he was not sure. So that's why Brahma also, he was suspecting that Krishna is, he might be, but he might not be at the same time. So that's why he tested. And Indra, he did a worse offense. He completely forgot, he just thought that this is just an ordinary boy, He forgot that, Mother Yashoda was emanating effulgence, and that all of them came there and prayed to her. They saw Lord Narayan Vishnu in her womb, but then they thought maybe, Lord Narayan just appeared in her womb, and then he went somewhere else, and this boy Krishna, he born. Who knows what kind of logic they had? It's just Maya, which is strong and bewilders. So if you're not firmly fixed in your understanding of who Krishna is, that he's one Bhagavan, you are easily perplexed with the small things. As soon as Krishna starts behaving in non-godly way, the doubt comes. So that's why one has to have firm conviction. No, he is the Swam Bhagavan. Although he is playing as a small child, no, he is the original personality of Godhead, from whom all other expansions and incarnations come, from whom all the universe is manifest. Although he is playing like a little child, but they were not firmly established in their Siddhanta, in their conclusion. So that's why they were easily bewildered. This is how I see it.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes, Achinti Prabhu.
Actually, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing up this point that it's possible to get bewildered, because that's the nature of Krishna's material energy, that it can bewilder even Lord Brahmā. So one simple way of seeing this in our times is that when Prabhupada is physically present on the planet, nobody ever thought that he had imperfections. But with passage of time, we can see more and more how people think that Prabhupada was spiritually perfect, but materially had so much some imperfections. How does it matter? The spiritual essence. So we can see how devotees over time are getting more and more bewildered, even though they know that Prabhupada's teachings is very clear that a pure devotee is free from the four imperfections.
Yeah.
And one of the four imperfections is to commit mistakes. So even though the teaching is there, the books are there, we're reading it regularly, but still devotees, even including senior devotees, are getting bewildered by the understanding that Prabhupada could have made some mistakes. So in our own times we can see that happen, so it's not very uncommon to think that when Krishna is eating, like that's the whole thing which is explained by Acharyas, that when Krishna was eating along with his cowherd boyfriends, that as you were saying, he's eating some rice, and so it's, I mean, Brahmana boys don't do things like that. They don't share food with others and eat muchi and things like that. But Krishna is just behaving as if like he's like an ordinary boy. So this thing about whenever the Lord or the pure devotees come, they behave as if they are like ordinary people, but at all times they are not ordinary.
Thank you, thank you. This is very, very nice analogy, very appropriate. Yeah, when the great person is present before us, we might not be able to appreciate its greatness because we are covered by Maya. Only when the great person is gone, then in the retrospective we see, wow, what a chance I had, but I was, such a foolish person. So always we have to see through the eyes of Shastra Chakshu, and then the proper Siddhanta will be there if we see through the eyes of Shastra. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Thank you all very much. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai.